Let's not sugarcoat it. Being a Kansas City Chiefs fan today is a whole different experience than it was just a decade ago. And you know what? That shift didn't happen by accident. It came from bold moves, deep belief, and leadership that knew how to play the long game. You probably already know the headline names. Patrick Mahomes, dazzling on the field, Andy Reid masterminding the offense, and Brett Veach pulling strings in the draft and free agency. But there's one name that often gets overlooked in all the praise, and it shouldn't. Clark Hunt. Yeah, Clark doesn't call plays or throw touchdowns, but his fingerprints are all over this Chiefs dynasty. This is the guy who made the gutsy call to bring in Andy Reid when he was fresh off being fired from Philly. That's not just leadership, it's vision. And when Andy came aboard, it wasn't long before Brett Veach got his shot. Fast forward a few years, and those two have become one of the most effective GM-coach duos in the league. But none of it happens without Clark Hunt pulling the trigger, trusting his people, and staying the course when things got tough. Let's rewind for a sec. Remember the dark days? The early 2000s when the team had talent but couldn't quite make that Super Bowl leap? The heartbreaking playoff exits? The years of maybe next season? Clark lived through all that too. And instead of chasing quick fixes or flashy hires, he rebuilt the franchise from the ground up, with a long-term mindset and a commitment to culture. Ask yourself, how many NFL owners really stay patient, stay smart, and stay behind the scenes while building a legacy? Not many. Clark's influence goes beyond just football operations. He's shaped the identity of this team. Character, class, consistency. That's been the blueprint. So here's a question for you. What do you think is Clark Hunt's most defining decision as Chiefs owner? Was it trusting Andy Reid? Standing by Brett Veach? Giving Mahomes the keys to the kingdom? Drop your take in the comments. And hey, if you think Clark Hunt deserves more credit, smash that like button. Let's give the man his flowers, because while we're talking legacy, big changes are brewing on the field too. The NFL's new 2025 kickoff rule, it could shake things up big time for Kansas City's special teams. Let's break down exactly what's changing and how it could play to the Chiefs' advantage. All right, let's talk about this new kickoff rule, because yeah, it's kind of a big deal. For years, now kickoff returns have been slowly dying off. Touchbacks, fair catches, boring. The NFL said it was about player safety, and sure that matters, but it also took the excitement out of one of the game's most electric moments. But in 2025, that's about to change. The league just approved a brand new kickoff format inspired by the XFL. Here's how it works. Instead of players getting a full sprint before contact, both teams line up just 5 yards apart, and nobody can move until the returner catches the ball. That means fewer full-speed collisions, but way more actual returns. And for the Chiefs, that could be a game changer. We've got Harrison Butker, one of the most reliable kickers in the game. But now, the spotlight shifts to returners. Mecole Hardman immediately comes to mind. If he's still with us this season, he could thrive in this new setup. His quick cuts and acceleration make him dangerous in space. And if the Chiefs bring in a speedster during the draft or free agency, watch out. Special teams coach Dave Tubb is probably foaming at the mouth right now. This rule opens up a whole new layer of strategy. Blocking schemes, return lanes, and timing are all going to be way more important. Let's not forget, back in the day, the Chiefs were lethal in the return game. Think Dante Hall. Now we might be heading back to those roots. But with great opportunity comes risk. More returns mean more chances for fumbles, missed blocks, or poor lane discipline. One blown assignment could flip a game. So here's the question. Do you like this new kickoff rule? Drop a comment. Y if you're excited to see more returns, or N if you think it's not worth the risk. And while you're at it, who do you want returning kicks for the Chiefs this season? Mecole? A rookie? Somebody new? Let's get a vote going in the comments. Best answer might even get a shout out in the next video. But this isn't the only rule the NFL tweaked this year. They finally touched one of the most debated topics in the league, video review for penalties. And yeah, you better believe that has everything to do with what happened to Chris Jones last season. You remember that game against the Raiders, right? Fourth quarter, Chiefs clawing for momentum. Chris Jones breaks through, wraps up the quarterback cleanly, strips the ball, and still gets flagged for roughing the passer. That call? Straight up robbery. It killed the drive, shifted the momentum, and honestly, it might have cost us that game. Now imagine if that kind of call could be reviewed. Well, the NFL is taking a step in that direction, finally. Starting this season, referees can use video replay to confirm or overturn penalties on certain personal fouls. But, and this is important, only if the flag is already thrown. That means fouls like face mask, horse collar tackles, and similar can now be reviewed, but only if the ref actually calls them on the field. It's progress. But is it enough? Let's be real. This rule wouldn't have helped Chris Jones last year because the ref did throw the flag, and under the current system, roughing the passer is still off limits for review. That's the frustrating part. Fans, players, and even analysts have been calling for that to change for years. The league is trying to find a balance between protecting players and letting defenders play. But come on, how can we keep ignoring obvious errors in real time when we have the tech to fix them? And here's the kicker. If the goal is fairness, why stop halfway? So let me ask you this. If you could change just one NFL rule today, what would it be? Hit the comments and let me know. Maybe it's expanding reviews to include roughing the passer, maybe it's the catch rule, maybe it's something wild. Whatever it is, drop it below and let's start a debate. Also, quick poll. Should all personal fouls be reviewable? Type all if you think yes. Type limited if you think only some should be. This rule is a baby step, but it's not the only one the NFL made this offseason. Some of the other changes, they actually work in our favor, especially if your quarterback's name is Patrick Mahomes. Let's talk about why. All right, let's talk strategy. And this time, the NFL finally threw us a bone. You remember that playoff heartbreaker against the Bills a few years back, right? Mahomes played like a man possessed, only for the game to end without him touching the ball in overtime. That one stung. Well, not anymore. The new overtime rule guarantees each team a possession, no matter what. No more win the coin toss, win the game nonsense. Now both teams get a chance to respond, even if the first drive ends in a touchdown. And that's a huge win for the Chiefs. Because let's face it, if your QB is Patrick Mahomes, you want that shootout. You want the ball in his hands, especially when everything's on the line. There's nobody cooler under pressure, nobody more clutch. This rule basically says, hey Pat, here's your cape. Go, save the day. And if you're a defensive coordinator, good luck. You stopped Mahomes once, now you've got to do it again. Now let's shift gears a bit, because there's another change the league made this offseason that Brett Veach is about to turn into a weapon. We're talking free agency. Under the new rule, teams are now allowed to conduct Zoom interviews and host in-person visits earlier than before. That might sound minor, but think about what it means. More face time with players, more time to make a pitch, and more opportunities to close deals before other teams even get in the room. And guess who's already elite at sealing the deal? Veach moves fast. He's precise. And he's built a culture players want to be part of. So now, with a head start, he's even more dangerous. We're not just reacting to changes, we're built to thrive with them. So here's a quick question for you. Which of these rule changes excites you more? Comment Mahomes if it's the OT update. Or Veach if you think free. Agency is where we'll dominate. Drop your vote down there. And hey, toss in a prediction too. Who's the next free agent you think Veach is targeting? Because with Mahomes and Veach leading the charge, the Chiefs aren't just adapting, we're setting the pace. And speaking of changes, wait till you hear what they're doing with first downs. Você diz, CO ChatGPT DC, Chapter 5. The end of the chain, tech, tush push, and the NFL's future, 350 words. Okay, Chiefs Kingdom, Let's talk about chains. Yeah, those bright orange sticks they've been dragging across the field for decades to measure first downs. In 2025, on live national TV, seriously, we've got drones, AI, and robotic tackling dummies, and somehow we've still been relying on a guy eyeballing a spot and pulling a metal chain taut like it's a 1920s construction site. Well, not anymore. The NFL is finally ditching the chains for good and replacing them with Sony's Hawkeye technology. Yep, the same high-speed camera system used in tennis and soccer is coming to the gridiron. That means real-time ball tracking, laser accuracy, and no more guesswork. Remember the infamous Steratore index card? That's right. Gene pulled out a literal note card to check a first down. That moment lives in football meme history. But now, that kind of moment is done. Finished, retired. This new system brings clarity. And as a Chiefs fan, you know we've been burned more than once by bad spots and questionable measurements. It's about time the NFL caught up with the times. But while one old-school play fades away, another controversial one is still going strong, the tush push. You know the play. Eagles made it famous. Quarterback sneaks with 2 or 3 guys shoving from behind. It's like a rugby scrum on steroids. A lot of fans hate it. Some want it banned. But let me tell you something. The Chiefs already cracked the code. Go back and watch that 2023 game against Buffalo. Spagnuolo's defense timed it perfectly. Met Jalen Hurts at the line and stopped the push cold. That's preparation, that's film work, that's dominance. So while other teams are crying to the league office, we're just out here making plays. Now I want to hear from you. What's the worst rule in the NFL right now? Drop it in the comments. And hey, between laser first downs and outlawing chain gangs, which change are you more excited about? Because if this is the future of football, the Chiefs are already one step ahead. And just like that, our breakdown of the new NFL begins to close. But the conversation, just getting started.